Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom came out just over a month ago now, and it's a film that has still divided public and critical opinion. Some people regard it as the best film since the original, and some call it a mess that continues the worrying trend started by Jurassic World. Me, I fall somewhere in the middle, and hopefully throughout this review/recap you will see why. We're going to cover pretty much the entire film here, and I will try to give a score at the end. Given the film's huge relevance to the channel and held my entire life, hopefully you will excuse what is going to be a fairly long video, but you can skip to the end for some closing thoughts and score if you like, you big old meanie. Anyway, Fallen Kingdom opens up with our Jurassic World characters either reverting to type, i.e. Owen, or taking the events of the first film and using them to change their life, i.e. Claire and the DPG. Owen going back and building a cabin and wanting to temporarily live in a van is precisely what I'd actually expect from his character, and Claire's new role with the DPG suits this redemption arc they're putting her through, and I thought it was pretty admirable actually that they broke up the couple for the start of Fallen Kingdom. I think this is actually what would happen. People get together in these high pressure situations, but then afterwards they realise they're not actually compatible, and whilst I applaud that move, I'm annoyed that later in the film they went back and did the exact same bloody thing again. It seems the films need that little bit of romance, that big kiss, though it certainly wasn't a major factor in the film and I appreciated it. The films just don't really need it. Despite that minor grievance, I actually loved the opening half hour or so of Fallen Kingdom. There's been a lot of talk about the opening sequence and for good reason, as it's one of the best, if not the best, even better than the original Jurassic Park, in the history of the franchise. The dual sequences between the guys on land and the guys in the submarine makes for some really good tension as they're suddenly surrounded by danger on both fronts. That slow build up, the middle of the night, the pouring rain, absolutely classic Jurassic Park. And the good stuff continues for a while after. I actually really like the basic plot of Fallen Kingdom and think it's a very good way to get the dinosaurs off the island. The idea that a shady company would purport to help the DPG and rescue the dinosaurs after Congress's disappointing decision is one I totally buy, especially when that company has ties to Benjamin Lockwood, who's genuinely sold to us as a benevolent sort of man, albeit one with some mistakes in his past. So far, so good. Claire and Owen reuniting on the plane after his late night watching of the Blue video also supports my earlier point a little bit. It'd have been really easy to make Owen return to the island because of residual feelings for Claire, but really, he's going to save his old friend. The cocky exterior that Owen puts up is clearly meant to be a defense mechanism that hides how much he truly cares about these dinosaurs and probably other people, but unfortunately we basically only see that cocky exterior for the rest of the entire film. If there's one problem I have with Jurassic World as a franchise, is that the characters basically don't change. Owen is identical to how he was at the beginning of Jurassic World, and the changes Claire has gone through are very surface level. She was business orientated, she saw a dying Apatosaurus, now she loves dinosaurs. There was that brief dalliance with her motherhood issues, but they've been left by the wayside. I know people think this is a common problem with the franchise in general, but I do entirely disagree. They're not character pieces by any means, but several people, John Hammond and Alan Grant more than anyone else, do change massively across the films. Onto the island, and it is still a fun little film. I got a feeling of sort of adventure films from these opening segments, this first half hour or so, reminiscent for me of the Brendan Fraser version of The Mummy from the mid-90s, which is a brilliant feeling for a Jurassic Park film to aim for in my opinion, and I'd love to see them go more in that direction than what we got. The group seeing that Brachiosaurus for the first time, while clearly aping the first film, was still a beautiful and majestic moment and the sort of stuff I love to see in Jurassic Park. The other two main characters within that group, Zara and Franklin, they're okay, they're just sort of there. Zara is really never anything more than an arrogant but talented vet. Franklin is screamy but has the ability to hack everything on the planet because that's how films work. They are fine. And hey, that whole hacking thing, we had that in the first film as well. It was stupid then, it's stupid now. But apparently Lowry from the first Jurassic World was originally meant to take Franklin's role in this film, and that I would have much preferred given he was one of the few highlights of the original. The group splits a little at this point. Claire is off tracking dinosaurs as Owen hunts down and finds Blue. It's a nice reuniting. It was great seeing Blue in a hostile and wild state, something that comes up later in the film as well, and their inevitable betrayal was even played pretty well, with plenty of tension and Owen's desperate pleas for the Lockwood thugs to back down, knowing what Blue is capable of but also wishing to protect her. Unfortunately, this is where the film goes drastically downhill and for me never really recovers. There is a demonstrable and very noticeable shift in pacing at exactly this moment, where the film changes from fun adventure film to schlocky summer blockbuster that requires explosions and action every 5 minutes. And this is really the crux of my problem with the film. The pacing is a goddamn disaster, and it's simply because they've tried to cram 2 films into one. The Isla Nublar incident and the Lockwood Manor events. These could have been expanded and made into 2 separate films. I honestly believe that would have been absolutely fine. But because of money, blah blah blah, they've also not done that. Before we get further into that, I want to give a shout out to the worst scene in the entire film that occurs right here. And that's Owen's escape from the lava. He's awoken from his tranking through the tongue of a Sinoceratops, and he's struggling to move as the drugs still grip his system. Lava is approaching, and Owen has to fling his limp body across the ground in order not to burn alive. After seeing the film twice and having had time to reflect, I still have no idea why this is in the film at all. It actually blows my mind that this made it past any form of scripting, editing, any phase at all. I can't tell if it's meant to be funny, given Owen's movements, or tense, given the approaching doom and the tense music, but by trying to be both, it achieves absolutely nothing. At the same approximate time, Claire and Franklin are dealing with a baryonyx, and this right here is the perfect example of why the pacing in this film is a disaster. The situation with the baryonyx is actually pretty awesome, and the way it approaches down that dark tunnel, occasionally lit by drips of lava or flame, is a gorgeous shot in a film that is, generally speaking, beautifully shot. The baryonyx is imposing, even if you don't like the design. The situation in general is very frightening, and despite greatly disliking Franklin's over-the-top scream, the whole situation is a really well-directed little set piece. And then it's over. It lasts about 3 minutes, including all the time before the baryonyx actually appears. It's just over too fast. I'm not opposed to small encounters, we've seen them in the past with, say, the Ceratosaurus in Jurassic Park 3, but this film is absolutely founded on them. And then this continues moments later with the Stampede scene. There's a big thing before Fallen Kingdom launched in which they bragged about having more dinosaurs than any other Jurassic Park film. I believe they said all of them combined actually at one point, which not only entirely misses the point of a Jurassic Park film as a franchise, given the original film only had 6 dinosaurs in it, but it doesn't make for a very interesting scene anyway, so what's the point? I personally didn't get any excitement seeing all these dinosaurs on the screen at once. It just didn't do anything for me. The Stampede scene could have been effective with the rampaging dinosaurs and the billowing ash, and the brief moment in which Owen is stalked around the gyrosphere by a Carnotaurus is again a nice tense little moment, but it instantly has to be blown up by bombast via a Sinoceratops or again a hero T-Rex. This happens constantly in Fallen Kingdom, constantly. Beautiful moments or scary moments are instantly changed via some form of explosion or excitement. The film has severe tonal whiplash where it simply can't decide what kind of film it wants to be, and that's shown nowhere more than in pretty much the next scene in the film. Eventually the group finds their way onto the leaving ship, and then that scene plays, the one that sticks in the minds of people far more than any other: the death of the Brachiosaurus. The original Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park, seemingly. I don't know why that's important, but whatever. It's another gorgeous shot. The way it rears up as it's engulfed by smoke and ash, the flames lighting it up behind as it slowly fades into nothingness. It's a true goodbye to Isla Nublar, a true goodbye to the Brachiosaurus from the first film, and this franchise as a whole. And yes, it's a very upsetting scene that definitely had an effect upon me. Unfortunately, approximately a minute earlier, you've got Franklin falling over and we have a quippy little "Am I dead? Not yet, kid" exchange with Owen. Tonal whiplash. I don't mind a one-liner or two in this film, but the writers have spent far too long apparently watching Guardians of the Galaxy for my liking. Comedy and sadness and horror can absolutely be balanced, but it requires deft writing, and I really think they missed the boat, pun unintended, at several points throughout this film, to the point where I feel somewhat bad for J.R. Bayona for what he's had to work with. The film does slow down a bit now for the second half as the Indoraptor is introduced. Again, I love some of the ideas at play here. The auction and the selling off the Indo as a weapon is something I'm totally behind, if we have to accept the presence of the Indoraptor and hybrids in this film at all. Toby Jones as the auctioneer is pretty fantastic, as he is in everything. He's a snarling little man who manages to put even the manager of the Lockwood Foundation firmly in his place. No idea what his name is, by the way. He's nothing but an evil man trying to make some money at the end of the day. The second half of the film is also where the film's main message, something I keep seeing getting lauded, comes up, but we'll get to that in a little bit. For now, we see more of Maisie, who is, to her credit, easily one of the best child actresses in the entire series, and a substantial upgrade on the kids from the first Jurassic World. I like Maisie. She's adept, capable, and at the start at least, has a little bit of mystery to her. But she's still a young kid who breaks down in front of Owen and Claire and cries a little bit later. Before they unite though, we get my favourite scene in the entire film. Do you remember when you first saw a dinosaur? That line is perfect for Jurassic Park. Claire and Owen have this little conversation whilst trapped in the cells of Lockwood Manor as they watch a Triceratops and her impossibly adorable little baby in the cage opposite. It's a really nice moment that made me like Claire much more than I ever had and then it ends instantly. Again! This is why Fallen Kingdom frustrates me so much. There is so much potential in this film. So many beautiful or scary moments that have had to be butchered for the sake of summer blockbustery excitement and cramming everything in because they're trying to do so much in such a short amount of time. The film moves so fast that it gives itself no time to enjoy the good things it does. No moments get room to breathe. No sooner have Claire and Owen had their very short conversation, we get the whole thing with the sticky Moloch and the comedy relief of its escape. Which is fine, it's a fun little scene, but it's just too soon after. There's less in general to say about the second half that I haven't said already by this point. Again, there's some awesome shots, including the entire scene in the museum with the Indoraptor, or its approach to Maisie's bed, or the way it stalks over the rooftops in the finale. I might not like the movie monsterness of the dinosaur in general, but if it's going to be in the film, I'm glad it was handled as well as it was. And I felt like it had more personality at least than the Indominus Rex, although it's not saying much. The less said about the escape of the Indoraptor, the better. Chalk it up to a character doing a stupid thing in a film filled with characters doing stupid things, but hey, most films have that anyway. Generally, I liked what they did with the Indoraptor though, and I thought its death sequence was pretty satisfying, albeit predictable enough that we knew it was coming months and months before the film was released. Still, no complaints there really. Despite having seen this film twice, however, I am kind of racking my brain for what actually occurs in the second half, in all honesty. It's a perfectly serviceable half of film with some nice direction and a spooky dinosaur, but nothing much actually happens other than Blue being saved and a few Indo on Blue fights. So this is really a good time to talk about the moral message of the film, something the film's defenders keep lauding to me is a high point of the entire film, and I could not disagree more. Again, the inherent idea of the film, genetic power is dangerous but it's out of the bottle, we've entered this new age now. That's a fundamentally good idea and one I can totally get behind, but any nuance or depth to that idea is absolutely butchered along the way. Ian Malcolm's speeches on the matter are a good way to bookend the film and talk about it, but what else is there? There's the Indoraptor, which is, spooky. That's great. Doesn't really say anything about that. There's Maisie turning out to be a clone of her mother, which again is fine, but in reality means absolutely nothing and goes absolutely nowhere because it's barely addressed other than her cheesy one-liner towards the end of the film. We had this whole thing with, you don't even know what she is and all this, and it was built up dramatically, and then it just does nothing with it. Nothing, because there's no time, there's no room. I honestly thought she might turn out to be part raptor, and the film definitely seemed to be building towards that with several shots. The way the earlier part of the Lockwood Manor sequences are directed, she was acting very raptor-esque, and the way she watched Blue and Owen and she tilted her head along with it, that's definitely a suggestion. But no, she's a clone of her mum. Okay, great. The final way the film seems to be pushing this idea of released genetic power is of course the ending. Blue is now roaming around the desert, the Rex is in a zoo, and the Mosasaurus is riding a wave and checking out some beach girls. The dinosaurs are out on the planet. We've now got a true Jurassic World. It's an awesome idea, and it makes absolutely no sense. This is the main problem with the second film in a trilogy. That entire last portion is clearly setting up the third film and suffers for it because with the context we have right now, the ending is absolutely nonsensical. Do you really think the US government, of all governments, is going to let these large, hungry beasts roam around their planet? You don't think they'd have troops mobilized instantly to take them down? A Rex is not a hard target. A Rex is scary in other films because it's in jungles and in dark environments where your resources are depleted, not in big populated cities where you can call in a tank. And yes, this was also a problem with the Lost World Jurassic Park as well. Now, Planet of the Apes got around this with the simian flu, and I'm expecting a similar get out in the third Jurassic World film to explain how exactly we're going to enter this new age. Because as it is, we have a bunch of dinosaurs that can't breed, wandering around, liable to get killed at any moment. I'm certainly curious to see where the third film takes it, but only because the second ended with more questions than we started with, which to me doesn't feel like a satisfying conclusion to a film. Even middle entries in a trilogy should feel like their own film and their own conclusive story. So, in conclusion, I have problems with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I think the dialogue is cheesy at best other than a few nice moments. I think the pacing is absolutely horrendous, and I think that whilst it dabbles with some interesting moral themes and ideas, in reality it does nothing with them beyond a surface level. Jurassic Park was an allegory for fatherhood. Fallen Kingdom is a film about genetics being bad and dinosaurs eating people. That said, there are moments of greatness in here that elevated it above its predecessor at least. Claire and Owen's little talk in the cell, the Brachiosaurus both times, the Baryonyx introduction, the climactic scene with the Indoraptor, the auction itself, and basically the entire first half hour of the film are all personal highlights for me. Apparently the film is going to have a substantially longer director's cut which, if it can give these good moments some room to breathe and maybe expand on the themes of genetic power it slightly brushed up against, will make Fallen Kingdom a far better film than it is currently. As of now, it's a 6.5 out of 10 kind of film to me, and it'd be lower if it was anything other than dinosaurs. End of the day, I love dinosaurs. It's a perfectly fine summer blockbuster that I think people are both under and overestimating. Some people think it's the worst in the franchise, which I think is bizarre as it's leaps above Jurassic World and probably at least even, if not slightly better than Jurassic Park 3 now that I've seen it twice. But some people are so desperate to defend it that they're disparaging the original Jurassic Park or overemphasizing how well Fallen Kingdom handles its themes. But it doesn't handle them at all. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Cheers, much love. I'm sure people will have a lot to say down below. Cheers, much love as always. Bye bye.